Looks like I might have the same person twice. Okay. So let's just go to the third example. And so this is someone that's very active. You know, a lot of you guys probably know her from the group, but she has lost 40 pounds in the process of Eat to Perform since basically July. And what you see is that her calories are actually at a pretty decent number. And what's interesting is when you look at, so if you're not familiar, the red line is actual calories, the blue line is weight, and then the purple line is goal. And so the good majority of the time we had her in fat loss. Right now she's actually in ETP method 3, which is essentially performance recomp, because the client moves over into that level when your carbs are at 329, which she's right on that line. So that's why I moved that over. She was in fat loss the good majority of the time, but what was so interesting and what you can really see from her graph was that her calories just got up. I mean, like, I'm just trying to see here from when her highest, the graph's not playing ball with me here. All right, let's see. It just got, there we go. All right, so this right here, her highest calories would have been 2560, or she had the one day up, but the highest calories worked up to 2560, and right now her average calories are going to be right in the 2250 range. And so I will say something that's interesting about this file and interesting about the way that clients view this. This is someone that has seen some success at relatively high numbers, and we've had to coach her into going lower as it relates to calories. Now, that's not always the case. Obviously, in the case of a lot of people, they believe that calories control things much more than they do. She is a really good example of someone that believes that she can control her weight at a much higher calorie point. The only problem is that when you start to get to this 2500 range and things of this nature, you want to be able to use the runway that you built, right? And so what you'll see when we've kind of pulled things down into, you know, this would have been a low day, 1739. These were days where she was really not happy because she was actually able to have a lot of success at a much higher number. The only issue with that is that as you start to get lower, you do have to undulate further, right? And so you can have a lot of success going to the gym, you're 215, and you're starting to clean up your macros, and calories are starting to go up, and you're seeing a lot of really good things happen. The problem with having that level of success at that calorie point is it's not indicative of the kind of success that you have in the case of being 175, right? And so when we look at her situation, what we often need to coach her on is that the difference between what you do at 215 and 175. I mean, yes, this is someone that's willing to go to the gym a lot, willing to work, burn the candle at both ends. The problem that you run into in that scenario is that you get burnout, and then a lot of times you'll see weight spiking up because they don't want to do 2 days anymore, right? You know, it's been 6 to 8 months. I can personally tell you that's what my situation was. After 2 years of basically, losing 100 pounds, I was just tired of working out as much as I needed to continue losing weight at that rate. And this is a great example, though, that you can will yourself to success. And recently she came down. We actually moved her out of fat loss into Eat to Perform method. Like I said, in the future, there will be no fat loss. There will be no performance recomp. And we'll probably be talking about those a little bit more in Brad's videos. But, in her instance, we'd basically just kind of move things up and down. Now, one of the adjustments that I would probably make is that for someone that's able to operate at a relatively high calorie point and still see success, she probably would be one of the examples where we might move from 3 to 2, right? Where if let's say her high day gets to 419 and we decide to bring her down to 309, and between the basically, what is it, 100, 400, roughly 550 calories of difference combined with the amount of work that she might be able to do, that's someone that I would allow. The good majority of people, though, when you just bring calories down 350 calories, or you bring them down even 500 calories, it doesn't do very much. Like, for instance, if I brought her down 329 to 229, she might lose 2 to 3 pounds. And if we kind of milked it for all it was worth, we might be able to get 4 to 6 pounds. But we don't see those big 10 to 15 pounds, or in this case 40 pounds, where you're just rinsing, repeating these lower and higher cycles, right? I mean, even though it looks like she had a lot of success, and she certainly did, once we got to 200 pounds, we definitely had to start moving towards bigger deficits to have more success. And you'll also see that, like these big spike downs, those are basically days that she just didn't track her super day, that we kind of gave her, a little bit of leash, like, hey, look, we know you can work your way out of this problem. So go ahead and do that. I think, we've had a lot of communication with this client about her journey, and obviously it's been really successful. But it does take a fair amount of coaching for people to understand that calories need to go up. And then once calories are up, you kind of get into that comfortable place, right? You're eating 2,800 calories. You're seeing good progress in the gym. And in her case, weight was actually going down. Not that much, but it was going down. And you can kind of get this false sense of security that you can still lose 10 to 15 pounds the way that you would have early on in the cycle, but that's actually not how it works. So you do have to bring the plan down. This is a bit of an anomaly, but I think it's a good example of how, one, calories went up, then calories went down, then calories went up, and calories went down. And right now we're in an up cycle, and she will, I guarantee you, actually, let's look at that. Because she had, so like she just bangs on Emma hits really fast, because she's just able to hit these goals over and over again. And you see that in her file over and over, that, she was able to work things up. There's not everybody's motivated in that way. But what you'll see in the videos that I'm sure Brad's going to be making as well is that it's that up and down that really matters, and that you have to really get what you're going to see in the future videos, and we'll talk a little bit about this in the Q&A, is what's the process of Eat to Perform method, because it's a little bit slower than performance recomp, and I can tell you the pluses and the minuses of that. Actually, the minuses are big, right? And we'll go over that a little bit. But some of the minuses are that if you don't get calories up fast enough, the hurdles that come in actually cause the person to get stuck at a low calorie point. Now, in Michelle's example, she's never going to get stuck at a low calorie point because she just is someone that enjoys food. She enjoys working out, and she just puts the pedal to the metal. She does do, let's see, she's mostly CrossFit. I would say the good majority of people that are files similar to Michelle's tend to be more strength focused, not necessarily Metcon. So she, even in that instance, I do think that so she's a teacher. She's on her feet all day long. That does matter, right? All right, so we covered some ground. I wish I had a little bit more examples, but I think Brad will cover that, and then we'll walk you guys through some of those questions that you guys have. And like I said, Eat to Perform Method 1, fat loss. Eat to Perform Method 2, reversing. Resets. I'm not a huge fan of resets because for the most part, the clients don't want to come, regulate their weight by 2 or 3 pounds. They tend to want to go 10 pounds, right? And resets, all that does is kind of keep the client in limbo. And so we try to talk clients out of going into that scenario. Even in the scenario where you're 329, we tend to push the client much closer to 400 grams of carbs for females. Depends on the size of the female, of course. I mean, if it's a 115-pound female, she might be able to get away with 359. But, a 245-pound female might be able to get away with 439, right? Before we're able to pull things down for a dramatic reduction. So probably a good time for questions. Hopefully I covered a lot of